What's glue that holds great speeches together? Is it the compelling story? Is it the poignant point? Is it the way the speech is delivered? No. The glue is the transition tease that comes when you transition from one point to the other. Unfortunately, most speakers have no idea how to use them. When it comes to transitioning, consider this. A couple years ago, there I was in Orlando, Florida, preparing to conduct a boot camp that next morning. I was just about to go to sleep when the ESPN sports anchor came on television and said, "You won't believe what happened in college basketball tonight. Records were broken and there were surprises nobody saw coming. What a great night for college basketball. We'll show you exactly what happened right after the commercial break." Now, I needed to get to sleep desperately. I mean, I had a long day ahead of me that next day, but what do you think I did? I stayed up for another segment. And when that next segment came to an end, what do you think the sports anchor did? He teased me again. So I stayed awake for another segment. I must have stayed awake for another hour going over and over. Why? Because he was a master tease. What the ESPN sports anchor did is exactly what you should do in your speeches, using what I call the transition tease. Whenever you leave one point in your speech and get ready to go to your next point, use a transition tease. Now, there are two major approaches to the transition tease. The first is called the silver spoon approach. Let's listen to it in action. All right, second G to greatness. If you get this, here's what I can promise you. You'll be moving towards your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, even while you're asleep. I'm telling you, the grace, the serendipity, the providence, everything will be at your aid, and the wind will be at your back if you just do this one thing. Welcome back. As you heard, the silver spoon approach involves simply laying out the benefits of what they'll get if they follow your next point. Pretty clear. The other way, I love this, it's called the verbal knife approach. Listen to it in action. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever worked with what I call status quo-aholics? You know who that is? The status quo-aholic is the person who says, "Why change? This is the way we've been doing things for years. Huh? You don't manage like so-and-so does. Why should we change things?" You ever work with somebody like that? Raise your hand. I hit a soft spot. All right. What do you do with these people? How can you change them to be a positive force for the organization? That's what this is about. Write this down. The essence of leadership is this. Welcome back. The verbal knife approach is based on finding the pain your audience is having and twisting the knife. In other words, get them to express their pain and then and only then offer them a cure. So the silver spoon approach pulls your audience to what they want, and the verbal knife approach pushes them away from what they don't want, i.e., they don't want to work with status quo-aholics. I don't care which approach you use, just make sure you use one every time you transition from one point to another point. That's the way the Sports Center guy kept me awake, and that's the way you'll keep your audiences fired up for what's coming next. So that's all for this week, and until next week, keep speaking up. Speaking up.